Good morning students, welcome to SST So Simple tutorial. In the previous class we read about the Salt March and the civil disobedience movement. Today we will read subunit 3.2 How participants saw the movement. Here we will look at the different groups of people who participated in the civil disobedience movement. Our discussion will be confined to 5 different heads. 1. Participation of rich peasants. 2. Participation of poor peasants. 3. Participation of business class. 4. Participation of industrial working classes. And 5. Participation of women. So let us start with rich peasant communities. The impact of Great Depression in India was felt especially in the agriculture sector. India was a British colony. As we all know, she exported agricultural goods and imported manufactured goods. The agriculture prices that began to fall from 1926 collapsed after 1930. The fall in agricultural price led to reduction of agricultural export and income. Peasants found it difficult to sell their harvests and pay the revenue. The government did not decrease their tax, and so many farmers and landlords became indebted to the moneylenders and corrupt officials. At this point, I just want to remind you of Bardoli Satyagraha. We had discussed Bardoli Satyagraha in some previous video. See the timings, it was 1928. In such adverse conditions as we are discussing, how can a government ever think about increasing the land revenue? So all this led to a great rural unrest in India. The Jats were rich land-owning peasant communities of Uttar Pradesh, and so were the Patidars of Gujarat. As we discussed just now, they were also hard hit by depression and falling prices. Their incomes also declined, and they also found it difficult to pay the government revenue demand. But the government did not show any kind of sympathy with them. The government did not reduce the revenue, so there was a widespread resentment among the rich peasants. That is why the rich peasants became supporters of the civil disobedience movement. They not only organized their communities but also forced reluctant members to participate in the boycott programs. For them, the fight for Swaraj was a struggle against high revenues. When the movement was called off in 1931, that means when Gandhiji was going to attend the Round Table Conference without the revenue rates being revised, the farmers became very much disappointed. Many of them refused to participate when the movement was relaunched in 1932. Let us now discuss the participation of poor peasantry. Most of the poor peasants were small tenants who used to cultivate land that they had rented from the landlords. Tenant normally means a person who uses a land or a building and pays rent to its owner. So while writing answer, you must be very careful in selecting the right word. The landlord pays revenue or tax to the government, whereas the tenant pays the rent, which is not a tax. A tax is always collected by the government. Now, when everyone fell prey to the Great Depression, how could poor peasants escape from it? Their incomes also declined. They also found it difficult to pay their rents. So what these people wanted? They just wanted that the unpaid rent to the landlord to be remitted. That means cancellation of their debts. So for poor peasants, the fight for Swaraj was a struggle against high rents. They often joined the radical movements which were led by socialists and communists. Now just think about the Congress party. If it supports the demands of the poor peasants, the rich landlords would naturally become unhappy. And so Congress did not want to take the risk of raising such issue that might upset the rich peasants and landlords and alienate them. Let us now discuss the third one, the business class. During the First World War, British textile exports to India were reduced to meet wartime requirements. So the imports from Manchester had declined. So the Indian cotton mill got an opportunity to increase their production to meet the demand of home market. Fortunately, the Indian factories also received orders to supply war needs. So that was one nice time when Indian industrialists made huge profits. Now these business classes wanted to expand their business further, but that was not easy because of the discriminatory colonial policies. They had to face tough competition from British industries. So they demanded protection against imports of foreign goods and a rupee sterling foreign exchange ratio that would discourage imports. Protection means imposing duties on imports so that British made goods would not enter India so freely. Till the First World War, European managing agencies controlled a large sector of Indian industries. In most cases, Indian financiers provided them the capital, while the European agencies made all the investments and business decisions. The European merchant industrialists had their own chamber of commerce, which Indian businessmen were not allowed to join. So, to organize their interests, Indian business classes formed the Federation of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries, better known as FICCI, in 1927. When the civil disobedience movement started, prominent industrialists like Purushottam Das, Thakur Das, and G.D. Birla attacked the colonial policies and supported the movement. They gave financial assistance to the movement. They refused to buy and sell imported goods. They saw Swaraj as a time when colonial restrictions on business would cease to exist and trade and industry would flourish without restraints. But after the failure of the Round Table Conference, the josh or the enthusiasm of this group was missing. Let us now discuss about the industrial workers. The industrial workers showed a lukewarm response to the civil disobedience movement. Since industrialists came closer to the Congress, so workers stayed aloof from the movement. Nevertheless, some stray cases of workers' participation did come to the fore, as in Nagpur. They boycotted foreign goods. They asked for higher wages and better working conditions. There were strikes by railway workers in 1930 and dock workers in 1932. They participated in the protest rallies and boycott campaigns in Chota Nagpur region. But the Congress was not interested to include workers' demands as a part of its program, because Congress did not want to alienate the industrialists and hence preferred to keep the workers' demands at bay. Finally, we will discuss the women's participation. Women responded in a big way to Gandhiji's call for civil disobedience movement. They began to see service to the nation as a sacred duty of women. During the Salt March, thousands of women came out of their homes to listen to him. They participated in protest marches, they manufactured salt, they picketed foreign clothes and liquor shops. Many women went to jail. Those women came from both the urban and rural areas. Those coming from the rural areas belonged to rich peasant households, and from the urban areas were mostly from high caste families. However, this increased participation in the public activities did not materially change the perception about women's duties and responsibilities. Gandhiji was convinced that it was the duty of women to look after homes and families, be good mothers and wives. And so, for a long time, the Congress was reluctant to give any position of authority to women within the organization. But see today, the party is being led by a woman. Students, now you should be able to answer these questions. 1. Why did the peasants join the movement? 2. The Congress was unwilling to support the No Rent campaign during the civil disobedience movement. Give reason. 3. Analyze the role of merchants and the individuals in the civil disobedience movement. 4. Discuss the participation of industrial working class in the civil disobedience movement. 5. Why was Congress reluctant to allow women to hold any position of authority within the organization? 6. Write the role played by women in civil disobedience movement. Dear students, let me stop here now. In the meantime, you read your textbook and watch the video again if needed. In the next class, we will continue with this unit and discuss limits of civil disobedience. Till then, keep reading and have a nice time. Thank you.